I personally agree that schools should require students to take part in physical tests like resistance and training and jogging. The main reason is that these activities help students stay healthy and energetic. For example, jogging can improve the heart and lung function, which allows students to focus better during classes. In addition, such physical tests encourage students to develop discipline and teamwork. When students train together, they learn to motivate each other and build social connection, which are very important for their growth. To sum up, I believe that mandatory physical tests are beneficial because they improve both student physical health and personal development. Reading passage discusses the university's plan to limit the number of consecutive days that friends and relatives can visit students in the dorms, aiming to reduce disturbance and inconvenience. In the listening, the male student disagrees with this new policy. He gives two main reasons to support his opinion. He thinks that visits are not really inconvenient if students ask for permission in advance and are respectful. For example, he mentioned that his roommate's brother once visited and he didn't mind because he was informed earlier. In fact, it helped him build a better friendship with his roommates. Secondly, he points out that some students live alone in single dorm rooms. If the policy is applied, the student would have to pay extra money to find other accommodation for their guests, which is unfair and waste of time. In conclusion, he believes the policy is unnecessary because respectful communication can already solve the problem. The reading passage explains the concept of hilltopping, a type of mate location behavior in which male insects go to the top of hill to compete for mates. The passage states that this behavior gives a strong signal of genetic fitness, so the males at the top have the best mating chance. In the lecture, the professor gives two examples to illustrate this idea. He talks about a butterfly species called Egahona. The males climb mountains over 2,500 meters to compete for territories where they can attract females. This shows that hilltopping helps them increase their chance of mating success. Secondly, he mentioned the tarantula wasp. The large male wasp fly to the top of hills to fight for the best areas to mate. However, research found that mating also happens along the way to the peak, not just at the top. In conclusion, both examples support the idea that hilltopping is a behavior used by male insects to improve their mating opportunities through competition and territory display. The lecture is about how businesses establish social and economic connection with their customers in order to build loyalty and increase sales. The professor explained that companies can build social connections by using real human staff to interact with customers. He says that when people are treated personally rather than by automated bots, they feel more comfortable and confident about a product. For example, he describes a woman who wanted to buy a supplement but hesitated until she received clear information from a staff member. This personal interaction made her trust the product and complete the purchase. Secondly, the professor talks about economic connection, which involves giving customers benefits such as discount or coupons. He gives an example of his own experience. He chose to buy from Starbucks simply because he had a coupon that was about to expire. So that's why both social and economic connection helps business strengthen relationship with customer and encourage repeat purchases. Personally, I prefer working in a relaxed environment because it allows me to think clearly and communicate better with others. Furthermore, when people are calm, they can solve problems more effectively and stay motivated. For example, In my campus organization, I work as a member of the events committee. Our leaders always encourage us to take breaks and discuss ideas openly. Therefore, we are able to plan creative activities and complete tasks on time without feeling stressed. So that's why a relaxed environment strengthens teamwork, increases productivity, and makes the overall experience more enjoyable. Reading Passage announced that the Recreational Services Department will receive special funding to add more exercise machines in the campus gym. This decision was made to respond to student complaints about the lack of available equipment and to encourage students to maintain a healthy lifestyle. In the listening, the woman disagrees with this proposal. She says that the gym is not really overcrowded. Although there are many people, she never has to wait long to use any machines, so there's no real need to buy more. Secondly, she argued that there are already many other ways for students to exercise, such as swimming, running and on-campus path, or joining sports team. Because of this option, she believes adding new machines won't make much difference. In conclusion, the women disagree with the plan because she thinks the more could be better spent elsewhere as the gym already meets student needs. The reading passage explains the law of diminishing returns, which states that when more variable inputs such as labor are added to a fixed input like capital, the additional output eventually starts to decrease. In the lecture, the professor illustrates this concept with an example of a farmer who owns a fixed amount of land. At first, when he hires a few workers, the total production increases significantly because each worker can efficiently be used to available space and tools. However, as the farmer keeps adding more workers, the field becomes crowded and each worker has less room and fewer tools to use. As you can see, the increase in total output becomes smaller and smaller, even though more labor is added. This example clearly demonstrates the law of diminishing returns, showing that after a certain point, adding more resources does not lead to proportional gains in output. The lecture is about two major programming styles, procedural programming and object-oriented programming. The professor explained the procedural programming focuses on writing a sequence of computational steps or procedures. These procedures can be called at any time during the program execution, even by other procedures or themselves. For example, he mentioned that a program may have procedures to read or write data files or to calculate the square root of a number. Secondly, he describes object-oriented programming, which organizes software around objects instead of functions. Each object contains both data and behaviors, meaning it can perform action and store information at the same time. For instance, an object could represent a person with attributes like name and address, or even a small program like a widget. In conclusion, while procedural programming focuses on step and function, object-oriented programming centers on data and objects that combine data and behavior.